Hi again, everyone. I forgot something. Oops. But that's all right. It's just a quick little extra addition. And we talked about Enclitics following other words. We had, for example, polemos, st. Remember that it behaves like it's one long word. That's why I wrote that kind of middle sigma. But of course, in the Greek itself, it'll be written with two words. And we learned how to do something like polemos st. There is a war, and we needed this accent on the ultima here to make up for this enclitic that was leaning back onto this noun. Well, that's great, but let's pretend that, what if we had a number of enclitics? What do we do if they kind of become a chain, a concatenation of enclitics? How do we deal with that? So Shelmerdine gives us an example, and let's just work with that. So we're getting to the word potamos, or potamos, which means river. And then let's say some river there is, st, to you, soy. So lots of words we don't quite know yet, but these are all enclitics except potamos. So how do we handle this? This poses a problem, and Greeks would hate this because they'd say, look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4 syllables without an accent naturally. There's no way, even if we were going to combine these into a kind of supercalifragilisticexpialidocious one word, this doesn't work. So how did the Greeks handle this? Well, it becomes this cascade, a chain. Soy, our last word, needs to have an accent, and it puts that accent on the ultima of the preceding word. Let me give a smooth breathing to st. St has to do the same thing. So we get another acute on tis. And by this point we're back to potamos, so we're ready to begin. And we're basically done. This is frustrating. We've got two acutes in a row. So we'd have potamos, tis. You can imagine, because going back through this concatenation, this chain, that's easy to do when it's written out and you're starting from soy and working your way back, soy, st, tis, potamos. For the Greeks, this must have been actually fairly challenging, and you'd have to kind of be thinking ahead of what you were going to say in order to know where to put these accents, because they kept on falling backwards. But what will happen whenever you get these chains of enclitics, and this is fairly rare, but when you do, work from the back and keep on adding these acutes on the ultimas, because for any enclitic, you're not going to have that position 2 weird scenario where you have to deal with different things. No, none of that's going to be at play. They're all going to be unaccented, so you will simply go to the last syllable of each enclitic and give it an acute, working from the end. The end doesn't get an accent because it is final. Although if we were to add another enclitic here, well, then we would have to make that soy. But let's just keep this as it is. So this sentence means you have some river. There is some river to you. But the meaning doesn't matter. We needed to figure out how to play with a string of enclitics, and this is how you do it. It's actually very regular, but you need to work backwards, and it's a little bit frustrating. Well, that was easy, I hope. And now we'll finally get to ame, st, all of the conjugations in the present of the verb to be. See you then.